Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Swan Song of the Universe, written by Sir Toshi. Beep beep. Captain Rel Yadra was nearly asleep aboard the bridge of the Orus, the last known starship of the Karian trader fleet, when his tranquility was shattered. Beep beep. Slowly, he willed his dark eyes open. The crimson glow of the nearby red giant star against the pitch-black sky crept into his vision, painting a shadowed bridge red. Beep, beep. A few seconds dragged by as Rel remembered what the alarm meant. Impossible. The chirping echoed through the empty corridors. Beep, beep. With labored effort, the captain sat up on his chair. He stared at the blinking green button on his armrest, unsure if it was the onset of hallucinations at last. Beep, beep. Rel brushed the layer of dust off the button with his grey, four-fingered hand and pressed it. The audio communication channel buzzed into life. Oh, hello, his voice croaked. Oh, good, you're not dead. The reply rode upon a high, cheerful tone. Female, if Rel had to guess, but he was unsure of the species. Oh, no, not yet. Speaking felt so alien. The female laughed, a sound Rel had not heard for a long time. Well, thank the gods you finally answered. I'm used to running across derelict ships. Oh, introductions, yes, I am Dr. Terra Stark. Rel straightened, summoning what remained of his dignity into his voice. I am Captain Rel Yadra of the Karian trader vessel Orus. The title now is empty as the starless black sky. Though, at this point, you can just call me Rel. Excellent. I'm just Terra then, of course. She laughed again. How odd to hear such a spirit when all he could see before him was the red and black, the colors of desolation. The two conversed for a while, a pleasure Rel had almost forgotten. I'm so glad to find another survivor out here, another star for that matter, Terra commented. You've been to other stars? Rel was astonished. The stars were few and far between. With his FTL drive crippled, the crimson sphere the Orus orbited would become his gravesite, a fact that he accepted only recently. Yep, though there isn't much to see, most of them are already dead, just like this one. Rel sank into his chair. The image of infinite vastness with nothing but a sparse scattering of bloated red ornaments only darkened his spirits. Hey, have you run across any other Karian vessels in your travels? There was a long pause. Sorry, no, Terra finally replied. Oh, that's right, your fleet. Why are you, alone? A solemn tone rang where there was liveliness only moments ago. To be honest, I'm not completely sure what we were looking for, but we split up. The entire fleet fragmented into groups of 3 or 4 ships each. We just wanted to find, something. We were desperate for any sliver of hope. After all, our trade business had all but fallen out by then. Self-preservation became a top priority. So we set out, across the stars looking for God knows what. But we found nothing. We ran our FTL drives for years, leaping across the dark emptiness. But one by one, our exotic fuel reserves ran out. The other ships in my group, 2 of them stopped dead in empty space, condemned to die in the cold. One of them sailed into a red giant, a completely opposite fate. And me, well, you can see that. He wasn't sure whether or not to consider himself lucky. That's horrible, Terra Stark said after a few moments. And your crew? Dead, was Rel's curt reply. There were only a handful of them, this being a relatively small ship in the fleet. The Orus has been orbiting the star for nearly 2 months. The others, they couldn't take it anymore. Ended up throwing themselves out the airlock. The recollection of their bodies, floating dark against the star's glow, briefly surged into his mind before he banished the image once more. My, you have been through a lot. Seemingly Terra had gotten over the initial despair of his stories. Some of her spirit had leaked back into her voice. "Still, I have to commend you for lasting this long, all by yourself, around the same old boring star." Rel chuckled. "Yes, well, the thought of following my shipmates, has crossed my mind, but I've never been able to do it. I've run from the darkness for years. Now I find it hard to simply cast myself into it." He stared out at the star, its unforgiving red gaze. "Somehow my will to survive is still there, even if it just means waiting for the ship to die, and me with it. It's solitude." "Solitude?" Terra mimicked, almost scoffing at it. "Well, you're still talking like solitude is an absolute, you silly being. Do you think I've been chatting with you from the depths of space?" As she spoke, a new shape drifted into view, silhouetted against this massive star. The thing was nothing like he'd ever seen. The vessel was slender and sleek and bright. Lights along the ship revealed parts of its spotless white hull. His eyes drifted to the largest part of the vessel's side, where a single large word is printed in intergalactic standard script. Eidolon. "Isn't she beautiful?" Terra sang over the comm. "Made her myself, well, designed her at least. Did I time my entrance well?"
"Marvelous,"
Rel answered both questions, still staring at Terra's ship.
"You still have working FTL?"
"In a sense," she replied, followed by a mischievous giggle. "Listen, I was serious about before. I'm sorry if I'm being too blunt, but the Orus is dead in the water. She served you well, but she's gone. So come aboard the Eidolon. Wouldn't you rather have company after all this time?" Her ship was already drifting towards the Orus's docking port. Now it was Rel's turn to scoff. Her ship was impressive, but that didn't change anything.
"What's the point, Terra? We're all doomed. Everyone. Everywhere. No matter where we go or who we find, we will die."
Terra's voice came across a little louder. "Why not face the end together, then?" Then Yidra considered it. The aura still held a bit of sentimental value, but Terra was right. The Kaurian fleet was gone. He gave a long, reluctant sigh.
"Oh, fine. I accept your offer, Dr. Stark. I'll be at the docking port as quickly as I can."
Yes, fantastic." Along the way, a thought crept into his mind. What if this was some sort of trap? He hadn't seen the strange newcomer and had no reason to trust her. Then again, what was the alternative? The gaping maw of eternal emptiness. Even if this was a trap, it would still make for a more interesting end than an airlock jump or failed life support. He kept his guard up as he crossed through the docking port to the Eidolon, the bright corridor lights of the stranger's ship shining through the airlock. What he found there was a striking surprise, but not in the way that he'd expected. The female, he was sure of that now, that called herself Dr. Terra Stark, stood before him, smiling with arms behind her back. Slender, pale skin, dark hair, blue eyes, clad in a simple EVA suit with no helmet, and most definitely human. Rel Yidra staggered backwards, his dark eyes wide. He'd read much about the humans in the archives and libraries, even seen films of them, but never had he encountered one personally.
"What the hell?"
The smile on Terra's face quickly turned downward. "Oh, I may have forgotten about this part."
No, this is a trick. Some sort of ruse." He aimed a finger at the doctor. "You're dead. Your whole race is supposed to be dead. There hasn't been a human sighted in over a century." "I saw the records. Each of humanity's worlds, down to the last colony, was swallowed by separate supernovas over the course of just 10 years. Not a single one of them was left."
Rel had calmed a little, but he was still wary of the impossible hostess. "I know. I was there." The woman's cheerful reply was unnerving, not because of her apparent age, of course. Humans had always been experts in biological rejuvenation. Terra approached him now, a welcoming 5-fingered hand extended. "I'll explain soon. Look, if I wanted to kill you, I would have done it already." "Oh, my, sorry, that came out much more ominous than I intended," she chuckled to herself. "Besides, I'd gain nothing." Nothing. That's right. Rel remembered the situation as a whole and sobered. Whatever happened, they'd both be dead soon enough anyway. Though still cautious, he took the Phantom's hand and shook. The two stood on the shining bridge of the Eidolon.
The records tell of mass intergalactic hysteria once everyone realized the universe was falling fast towards its demise. Empires crumbled, alliances faded. You humans were one of the early civilizations to fall after the universe's sudden rapid senescence began.
Ral recalled.
And yet, here, at the end of time, you are the one I meet before I die.
Always so solemn, aren't you? Terra wore a teasing grin. Doom this, death that. You're a survivor, we all are. You should really start acting like one. She tapped away at a control console as she spoke. Humanity was pretty small compared to those intergalactic empires and alliances you mentioned. We tried to help everyone. We wanted to stifle the chaos. We knew what needed to be done, but nobody wanted to listen to the foolish little human alliance. So we just, disappeared. He watched her hands dance along the keys.
What are you doing now? Planning an FTL jump?
Yeah, sort of, she turned abruptly. Hey, are you fond of that? Terra jabbed a finger towards the forward window. Rel's gaze followed it, all the way out to the red giant.
What?
I take that as a no, she chirped. Her hands moved even more rapidly across the console. Sorry, though, I'd really love to take that Orus with us. We usually would, but my little ship isn't strong enough to tug it, and finding my way back with a hauler may be a little too difficult. This human wasn't making any sense.
Wait. What are you even doing? Where could we possibly go? Where are your people?
Rel felt like the last 5 minutes had been filled to the brim with nonsense.
Answer me, human!
The ship shuddered with a singular jolt. Rel looked at Terra, who seemed to lack a reaction. Then, out of the forward window, something was out there, glowing with a bright blue radiance. The object rocketed away from the Eidolon straight towards the looming star. We have about 30 seconds, give or take, 5, Terra announced. She turned to Rel and smiled. Ask me anything.
What the hell is that?
Rel pointed at the blue streak. That would spoil it. Ask me anything else. The captain sighed, containing his frustration towards the riddle of the woman.
Are there more humans out there?
There's one I can answer. Oh yes, we're out there. Let me tell you something about humans. Something your records may not have shown. She leaned in closer. We're deathly afraid of the dark. Ever since we're children, we shy away from the blackness. Our natural abilities don't give us an edge there. So what do, you ask? It's simple. We either dispel the darkness or we run from it. By any means necessary, even if it means that entire stars must fall before our power. Rel's eyes went wide after that last sentence.
Stars? The supernovas? All those years ago?
For a brief moment, the bridge was filled with an impossibly blinding light. The forward window tinted itself further, bringing the view back to tolerable levels. Strap into a chair now, Terra yelled. The two jumped into the nearest command seats. It was only a few more seconds before the blast wave from the supernova hit the Eidolon. The ship was at the mercy of a heavy turbulence, which Rel thought was a mild consequence of being caught in a stellar explosion. A loud cacophony of noise had begun, a combination of shaking ship and all the matter and energy slamming past its hull. The view out the front was spectacular. All manners of light and shapes, small at first, began to flit past the window. The turbulence was increasing steadily, and the noise with it.
So this is how we're going to die, then?
He yelled. Don't worry, she'll hold together, Terra replied. She's designed for this. The human slammed a finger into a button on the console. The ship lurched, and Rel was suddenly pushed back into his seat.
We're going forward!
Terra Stark had a wide grin on her face as she watched the shape stream past the window. Rel wondered how long ago this human had cast her sanity away into the starless sea. All around them was a maelstrom of light and color so fantastical that any description that he could attempt would be a dastardly understatement. This was it, he thought, listening to the murderous wail from all sides. This was the last thing he'd hear. The fanfare of his demise, the swan song of the universe. Hey, It's okay. Tara's voice broke in over the noise. I told you I was a doctor, right? Did I tell you what my field of study was?
No,
Raoul shouted back. This is not the time for idle conversation. Space-time engineering, she yelled, smiling, with a specialty focus in peace. Silence, everything. The quaking, the light, the sound. Stopped. Raoul thought for sure that this was the afterlife, until his companion spoke. Wormholes, Tara Stark finished. A friendly voice buzzed over the comm channel. Welcome back, Dr. Tara Stark, aboard the Eidolon. Confirmed successful cross-jump. Confirmed, she sung in reply. And I have a guest. The captain's black eye stared out at what was before them. A massive, sprawling structure. Long lines of metal this way and that, larger than anything he'd ever seen. With ships, thousands of ships, passing through and around it. A colossal space station floating proud in the black void. Wait. Not a black void. Raoul looked around him, still unable to speak. Stars. Tiny, beautiful stars of light in every part of the sky. A sight he hadn't seen since he was a young man back on Caria Prime. He dropped to his knees. Where are we? He finally managed to ask. Tara sat down next to him, a hand on his shoulder. Like I said, we humans had to run from the darkness, but there was no place in the dying universe where we could escape. So again, a simple solution. Find a new one, Raoul completed the thought, starting to understand how these people think. You insane humans found another universe? Hardly a simple question. Exactly. Tara motioned outside. This is our beacon, our main hub for all inter-universal transfers, or cross-jumps as we call them. This isn't our only home, you know. After all, nearly the entire human race has made its way here. Many of the nearby planets and systems have already been terraformed and settled. He could hardly believe it. The Human Alliance. The universe ignored them, thought that they'd been obliterated. When in actuality, they just left, as if there was always a way out. The death of every star in the sky was not enough to stop the human race. Why come back to the dying one then? Raoul asked. To help. It took us some time to devise a way of forming a cross-jump wormhole without destroying a star each time. That's part of the station's job. When we eventually got back to the Alpha universe, most of it was dead. Still, we did our best to bring as many survivors as we could back with us. Wait, so you're saying that there are non-humans here? Of course. We've got a bunch of other races running about. Praxi, Darvor, Serenits, Relans. What's left of the Kylar Empire, just to name a few off the top of my head. Raoul's brief excitement suddenly waned. But no Carians, as you said. He heard a small giggle. Well, about that. I may have lied just for a moment. The woman cocked her head to the window. The captain rushed to his feet and turned his attention outside. His heart soared as a group of familiar vessels loomed in view. Like I said, we're all survivors. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.